So now it's my turn to give a keynote, which will be about smart buildings and material intelligence for the next urban life. So do you know what this is? It is 420 million years of history designed by nature. Now, let me share with you my vision about the future of our building environment. If the 19th has been the century of steel, the 20th, the century of concrete, the 21st century will be the era of wood in the building industry and construction technologies. This is 2030. Humanity has reached 9 billion people. And today, 70% of humankind is living in urban environments. In 2030, cities are built to like our natural ecosystems, like forests themselves. They're made out of wood, they're dense, and carbon neutral. Why? Because the construction industry was responsible for 2.5 billion tons of CO2 emissions every year, more than all cars circulating on Earth. Because global urban population has increased so much that we had to build the equivalent of 7 times Paris or 35 times Toulouse in the world every year. Because wood is the most widely available building resource on Earth, and it's the only construction material that's 100% renewable as well as carbon neutral. But to build the cities of 2030 with wooden skyscrapers that would store CO2 instead of emitting it, we had to overcome its limits. Because wood could burn, it could rot, it had limited mechanical resistance, and it was expensive. Thanks to breakthrough in material engineering, a new material was born by combining raw nature and technology: translucent wood. In 2030, translucent wood is one of the leading bio-based materials for the construction industry and will disrupt how we'll make cities. Now let me take you back to where it all started. You know, as an architect, I've always had a fascination for materials and how they could be augmented to serve futuristic purposes. One day, I even decided to switch scale and rather design under a microscope. So this intuition took me to Harvard, where I worked in partnership with the molecular biology department, as well as MIT Media Lab, to research on future building materials. And through the lens of my microscope, observing wood, I discovered 2 fascinating features. The first is that wood is essentially made out of air. Did you know it? From 60 to 90%, with its cellular structure perfectly ordered but empty and ready to be functionalized. Secondly, it holds precious compounds, such as lignin, the green gold, that could be extracted and transformed into green energy to reduce the production cost as well as building's carbon footprint. Lastly, the material is infilled with a bio-based monomer, making it extremely performative. So as a result, wood becomes waterproof, 3 times stiffer, fire retardant, and translucent. So you know, I have been zooming in from urban to architecture to the material scale, where I discovered a fantastic new universe. And today, through Woodoo, a startup that I founded this year, we're working as a team to make this material available in our building environment. The future of the construction industry will be shaped around a major shift by combining biological and digital spheres in order to optimize resource management aligned with the birth of a new ecological consciousness. Forest ecologies and forest economies will merge into a complex infrastructure in the future. This apparatus will serve 3 main purposes. So forests will clean up the air and underground water. Secondly, it will be used to produce the material for the cities of the 21st century with wood. And lastly, it will become a power plant by leveraging green energy through wood's chemical compounds. You know, in our Western culture, we've always put as an opposition nature and our man-made environment. opposing cities against forests and nature against culture. But today, these conceptual walls are actually collapsing because biotechnologies will become an increasing part of the future of our building environment. What's really at stake here is the rise of an era of symbiosis, fusing nature and technology in order not to make a pure but augmented nature to tackle the next environmental and demographic challenges. In a way, new materials will emerge by leveraging unused resources. And in the future, fantastic new materials are going to emerge. Imagine, for example, materials that could be self-healing when broken, self-cleaning, or even remembering digital or physical informations. But the most performative materials of our century won't be the ones born from scratch in a laboratory bench. It will be the ones capitalizing on nature as a design force, as a legacy. So these materials will ground on the circular economy, leverage unused resources, and graft technologies onto them in order to become smarter and disrupt entire industries. Architecture's DNA lies in its material performance. And through engaging materiality throughout the creative process on a cross-disciplinary basis, architects, scientists will be able to make buildings that are no longer inert blocks, but living organisms. This will be the rise of the metabolic city of tomorrow, with materials that could be programmed in order to adapt to their environment. These materials will be made with an augmented nature that embraces, rather than ignores, natural imperatives. Thank you very much.